It seems that the Mizzou athletics events for the weekend are still on. Well, we'll talk about the men's basketball game. Tigers taking on Oklahoma tomorrow. Who you got for that one? We'll talk about the transfer that Eli Drinkwitz added today, one that I like this one. I think this could be a good one for Mizzou. So we'll talk about that. It's obviously NFL championship weekend, so we'll get the thoughts of Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com. We'll have our own picks of the week at 5:45. So call or text us today at 573-875-KTGR. You can also tweet us at KTGR Big Show. We're live on YouTube right now, youtube.com/@KTGR Sports. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
So again, the events at Mizzou this weekend are still on as scheduled. There's a men's basketball game tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Tigers taking on Oklahoma. Women's basketball plays Sunday evening, 5 p.m. against Texas A&M. Mizzou wrestling has 2 duels at the Hearn Center tonight and on Sunday afternoon. So everything at the moment is still in its place. Now, for folks who are wanting to brave it and get to the men's basketball game tomorrow, do keep in mind that they are going to close Champions Drive from Providence Road to McGeever Drive because of that big hill there. So they're going to close that. There is going to be free fan parking at Truman's Landing by where the reactor is, as well as the Tiger Avenue parking structure. That's free for fans if you want to park there for the game. And that is the Big Show's Big Deal on this 23rd day of January 2026. You can call or text us at 573-875-KTGR. Of course, if you are wanting to still make it out to any of those Mizzou events this weekend, please be safe doing so. But again, Mizzou Athletics telling us beforehand, hey, there will be a few places where you can park for free if you are, in fact, going to make it out to the game. So that's a good option for some folks if they are planning to make it out.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, it's kind of tricky if you're Mizzou Athletics to figure all of this out with the weekend events. You can say on Friday, like, yeah, everything is going on as scheduled, but I mean, stay tuned. If things get crazy, then they'll have to adjust. But because of the timing of when everything's supposed to come in, they're doing the best they can to plan and be prepared. So hopefully it all goes off without a hitch. But like you said, everybody just be safe out there.
Yeah, so for the moment, well, again, we'll keep you updated, and certainly if anything changes during our show, we will keep you updated for that. Mizzou Track and Field did have to cancel its meet for tomorrow. So the Bob Thiel Invitational that was set to happen there, that will not be happening. But the other Mizzou athletics events that are on the schedule are still on. We'll let you know if that changes at all. Give us a call or a text at 573-875-KTGR. In the meantime, it's football all the time, right? It never stops. College football has dominated the calendar itself because their calendar stretches out maybe too long for most people's liking. But today, Eli Drinkwitz landed a recruit. Do you think this was probably what the bat signal was for? You think?
Gotta be, right?
Yeah.
I would think that and that's not the name we were speculating yesterday, but this is another position of need. And again, you would think that when there's a tweet, a social media post indicating there's a signing, that the next one that's sort of publicly revealed would be the connected reason for that. But I'm cool with this one. It's not Caden Lee, but it is a player to beef up the defense, which is something that we know the Tigers need.
Oh, position of need for sure. Defensive end was what we had talked about a lot over the last week or so. Like, okay, is Mizzou going to get a guy from the portal? You're losing Zion Young for sure. You're losing Damon Wilson, and that eventually did, in fact, happen. And who's going to step up? I mean, there are several returners that Mizzou has, but nobody to the point where like they have been a proven starter at this level. And so you have to hope that one of those guys does so. But this is another guy to add to the mix, and I think it's a good one. Malik Bryant, who's a former Miami Hurricane edge rusher, got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Had a lot of time to play last year, it seemed. And so I think a very good addition from, well, a team that was in the national championship earlier this week. Malik Bryant added to the mix for Mizzou's defense. Maybe not the type of splash defensive end that Damon Wilson was, or even Zion Young was at the time when Mizzou got him from Michigan State. But I think still a very solid guy that, again, you need some folks to turn to in this room that have been at this level for at least a year. And Mizzou has a few guys like that, but maybe not to the starter level. This guy, I think, can be starter level.
Yeah, so interesting with him, he was a linebacker and played a good amount in 2024. This last season, where Miami reaches the national championship, didn't play much, played 2 games to begin the season, but then I believe was injured, and that was the reason that we didn't see him after that. But again, we've seen Eli Drinkwitz try to, find an edge where you can in terms of recruiting some of these guys that have the talent to play at this level, but for whatever reason, they may not be commanding, and who's to say, I don't know what they're paying Malik Bryant, but may not be commanding the sticker shock prices of NIL that some of the, like Damon Wilson went to Miami. I think we all can kind of project that he got multi-million dollars to do so. And that's just not like bagging on that. That's just the nature of it. But if you're Missouri and you say, okay, how do we, respond and maybe find a way to stretch our dollar further? This is another example of them getting a really good athlete, a nice piece that had, some acclaim and has some experience from a prior season, but didn't really play in the most recent season due to injury. And I feel like that might be, again, a connective thread that you can draw from this portal cycle as Mizzou tries to make the most of its, replenishing, especially on that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and there's a bet being made, I think, by a lot of what Mizzou's done in the portal so far. It hasn't been the same approach. And maybe they were really wanting to get some of the big splash players that reportedly were on visits and reportedly Mizzou had a chance at, but just didn't quite get. And it's always nice to get those players, but it seemed that Mizzou, for what they have been able to haul in, are guys that don't necessarily have just 1 year left and are not just one-off guys, multiple year guys that potentially you could build a foundation for your defense for an extra year. Now, look, in this landscape, you got to make sure you have enough for each and every year here in the now, and then you worry about next year. But look, this is another guy that has 2 years of eligibility left. If he plays really well, obviously you look at, well, okay, if he built up his draft stock, I don't know, like going in, if he had any kind of draft stock, probably not. But any player can burst onto the scene in 1 year and maybe get that type of talk. But having 2 years left, certainly a plus, and maybe Mizzou was able to get him for a multi-year contract. We don't know, but that seems to be more of what we saw out of Mizzou in the transfer portal this year, getting guys that potentially you could have for multiple. So now, is this it for the defense? You think they're done on the defensive side? Who knows?
No, I don't think they're ever done looking around and trying to make those additions. I still think the number of players departing is still slightly higher than the ones that have committed in. And so you can always massage those numbers as needed. I think if there are opportunities out there, like obviously, team like Indiana has guys going into the portal now, and who's to say that, Missouri's going to have a crack at any of those guys, but I know they've got like a defensive lineman that went in. Like there will still be some guys that have not yet landed, and, you make the pivot to some names that if you had plan A and plan B go off the board, you're still looking. I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri would add more, but it feels as though we're getting to the part of the portal where, as a fan base anyway, you're looking at it and saying, all right, how comfortable am I now if this is, in terms of like the major additions, kind of what we're working with, because the period is winding down. Technically, you can't enter any longer. Now, I see a tweet every day about somebody entering the portal, so I don't really know what the rules on that are, but as far as we know, like that's kind of a portion that has wound down, and we'll start to kind of see where the musical chairs end for a lot of these players and teams. But yeah, like it seems like the major additions maybe have sort of come and gone, other than if we see something on the offensive side official with Caden Lee. That would be the one that I would be waiting on. But otherwise, like, yeah, this could be largely kind of what you're looking at. I'm sure there will be a trickle, Andy, but you have to kind of be ready for the idea of looking over the roster and going, all right, this is what we're working with.
Technically, when it comes to big additions from the transfer portal, defensively, again, unless you really can pursue someone that is going to enter here very soon or just entered, this is probably it. Outside of maybe, like, you can technically still add to your high school class if you need to fill out the depth. I think Mizzou technically still has the roster spots to be able to do it. And then on the offensive side, kind of the same thing. But I think largely, if we say that, okay, Malik Bryant is the last key addition to this Mizzou defense, and Caden Lee, whenever that might become really public, everything like that, is the last key addition for the offense. The way that I look at what Mizzou lost, what Mizzou gained, I don't know if my expectation is, okay, if Mizzou needs to be where it's at, I think I need the offense to be the better unit, at least to start out, right? Like, because last year it was different. Last year, defense needed to hold the tide and allow for the offense to find its footing, which I guess early on it did, but passing game clearly did not. This year, I'm going to have to expect something different. I'm going to have to expect the run game to be the establishing force and then allow Austin Simmons to open things up. The offense needs to be a points scoring team almost at will in the early games that you have, at least the bye game, and then Kansas right out of the gate week 2 once again. That I think is what you need to rely on for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that it, I think, breaks down on paper. Let me ask you though, like this past year, let's just do scale of 1 to 10, strength of the defense, strength of the offense. How would you say those respective units carried the team, held their weight? Where would you pin it?
Defense, I'd say an 8.
I think that's pretty fair. 8, 8.5, maybe even for me.
And then offense, I can't give them lower than a 5 because the run game was really good.
It was elite on the ground.
But then what did the pass game do to elevate it even further? Not much.
Not a damn thing.
I don't know if I maybe 5.5,
5.5,
something like that. Maybe
say.
6, or
I
want to be generous.
Because you don't want to take away from what Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts were doing and what Bo Perbula was doing with his legs. But it's a passing sport in the modern era, and they just flat out could not throw a forward pass. So I think 5.5 is fair. Like, I'm giving 5 points out of 5 to the run game, and I'm giving a half point out of 5 to the passing side of the ball. Yep. And, that's where you land. So we both agree, like, the defense was a couple of notches better, more capable than the offense last year. What do you think we've got now with respect to these two units going in? And again, a lot will change. Depth charts will come to be. There will be a lot that we learn about some of the lesser known, because a lot of these guys that transferred in, this was not necessarily, and I'm talking about it in the past tense because it is kind of winding down. This was not necessarily a production over potential portal cycle.
No. For
all that we talk about that, like, you get a lot of guys that were banged up, had a lot of hype coming in. They do have experience. That's the one thing you can say is, like, okay, it's not freshmen coming in here, guys that are straight out of high school. But is there a ton of production in this class? There are guys who have certainly produced. Robert Woodyard, I think, is a good example. Good linebacker that played at Auburn. But a lot of these guys, maybe they're hanging their hat on. They've got the collegiate experience because they've been around. But how many snaps have they all played? Maybe not quite as much. And that's where you're hoping to ideally, you find some diamonds in the rough, but you aren't necessarily trying to integrate these guys day one that are coming straight out of high school and green little puppy dogs with no experience. They've at least been around the block, Andy. How much they've played in those various environments is, I guess, kind of where Eli Drinkwitz is going to have to test this theory out to say it's not quite production over potential, but it's a higher degree of the potential for production because these are guys who have spent a year or two on college campuses in these environments. Maybe that's where the edge is found.
Right.
But is this a team that, if the defense was 8.5 last year, I don't think it's better than it was on paper last year. But I think it's a unit that improved along the way. So if it was maybe a 7.5 to start camp and ended up as an 8.5, is this defense on paper right now more like a 7 or what? Where would we?
Yeah,
even rank
I would put 7 as the high water mark potentially because look, I think linebacker is comparing last year to this year. I think on paper, Linebackers almost the same. The depth behind the starting two is maybe a little bit down from what you had in the past. But again, Rodriguez and Woodyard, the projected starting two linebackers there.
I think you can be okay there.
Yeah, I think you can at least get what you thought. Although Trotter just might be that dude, and it might be hard for even Woodyard to live up to it. But I think he's the guy that you maybe replace.
Having Trotter and Newsett, and you just have to replicate production from a couple of spots is tricky.
And I mean, look, Rodriguez was basically starting at the end of the year, so it's that's pretty much the same. So it's kind of a juxtaposition of Woodyard versus Trotter. I think it can be pretty much the same, but maybe I need to see it one or two games until I really believe it. At secondary, I like the corner additions. Chris Graves Jr., a good one.
I feel so much better about the entire defense after that addition, to be honest with you.
Like, they knew they needed a bunch of corners, and they went out and got them. And so I think it's a good starting point, good foundation. You've got enough guys that you trust to start. Jaleel Florence, hopefully he's back healthy enough and can produce. Safety, maybe a bit of a question. I don't know if you quite replaced your Marvin Burks, but we'll see. They still got a couple guys there, and we'll see how they shape up. Look, the question's all about the front four, to me. I get it. Like, yes, Malik Bryant is a very good addition. I would guess that he probably starts alongside Darius Smith. Like, if I had to say today, and I could be totally wrong on that. Like, it's so early. But that maybe could be the hope for Mizzou fans with how things shake out. And then you got Langdon Kitchen, you got Dayton Hopkins. Like, the depth behind it can still develop as they elevate to a different snap count tier.
You need more from those guys. It's a lot of internals that I think you're hoping take a step forward at that position group, which is a little bit scary because I think it was the strength of the team last year. That's where it's a little bit dicey.
And then the same thing, kind of a defensive tackle. You do have one guy that I think you can trust to start, Marquise Gracial. But you basically had to replace a lot of that room too, not even necessarily to the portal. I think it was just a lot of graduation for those guys. So that's the biggest question. Like, they added some bodies, but it's still kind of in that realm of, well, I can't all the way peg this guy as being the starter day one, the way that we could with Damon Wilson and Zion Young to start out those seasons when they came through to Mizzou to the transfer portal.
And on the inside, McClellan was a huge difference maker.
Oh, yeah.
That whole line is going to have to show something to get us to say, yeah, on paper it looks great. Because right now it's a lot of that, there is potential there, but we like to see that production. And now I guess you could say, though, they like these guys, these players that they did, that they made sure to prioritize keeping rather than letting them go to the portal. Like, they could have gone too, and they said, here's how we're going to try to revamp the defense. It's with guys that were, more rotational players last year that are going to have to step into bigger roles and show what they're capable of doing. That's along the mantra that Drinkwitz has talked about. The new way is stay and develop. And that's, I think, whether by design or by necessity, because they saw the writing on the wall that, they weren't going to be quite as splashy and flashy in the portal this time around, which is not to say they didn't have a good class. It's still a top 25 portal class, I think, according to, whatever rankings you're going to look at. And I think if you add Caden Lee, it'll take another jump in their favor. But there's maybe not quite, like you said, the top end glitz and glamour that you had with the previous class. Although maybe at the quarterback position, they got that, and that would be a way to make up for it, Andy. If we talked about a 5.5 last year for the offense, where would you rate it on paper coming in with the expectation that Austin Simmons is your guy?
So maybe a slight bump, but even that's hard to do because
I will bump it. Offensive line's the only thing I got to see to know, but I will bump it.
See, I actually feel pretty good about it. Okay. I do feel good because, I mean, you have a good foundation on the left side. Caden Green coming back is huge. Judice, maybe you slot him into center, who knows? But I think you at least return an interior guy there. Potentially Curtis Piegler sticks around in that spot. And I think the addition of Atkins with the amount of football that he's played, look, I'm not going to speak for him. We can be totally wrong on this right away, but it feels like the Keegan Trost edition or replacement, if you will.
At least they're hoping that he will be, I guess, in the way that it shakes out. So if you're cool with where they're at on the line, and I'm not going to argue with you, like I think it's maybe a little bit of hopium, especially just because anytime you're introducing a new center, even if it's a guy that's played before, I'm like, can you snap the ball? Can we?
Well, sure.
There's those little things that become big things if you don't have them under control. But where do you see the offensive question marks relative to last year? Because the passing game couldn't get much worse than what we were dealing with at the end of the season. So the idea that Simmons could come in, I feel like could only be an improvement to where they were on that side of the ball. And running the football, they got both their running backs to return. And I like where they're kind of replenishing at wide receiver a little bit. I'm counting Caden Lee as a win already. I guess I shouldn't be doing that. But
well, I mean, look, it seems like that's going to happen. Who knows? We don't know for sure, but let's say it does.
The honeycomb post. I'm looking at the honeycomb
look
post.
at all the
by
signs. Look at all of the signs out there.
Unless that's wishful thinking by the quarterback, I feel like it means something that he's posting like that.
I mean, look, if he is added, then I actually feel like the wide receiver room is not worse than last year.
I don't think it is. I'll take a 1-for-1 trade of Caleb Goody for Marquise Johnson.
Yeah.
I like Coleman. I enjoyed having Coleman around. But I'll take my flyer with Caden Lee in that spot. And I think Alubade, you improve day one by the fact that he'll be playing instead of, serving in more of a reserve role like he was as a freshman, because he was a true freshman that, the coaching staff had to get to know and get to make sure they could trust him. But by the end of the year, I think that was clear. So you're going to get a bump, in my opinion, of just the exposure that the offense will have to Donovan Alubade, which is a win because I think he's a really good player.
And then obviously tight end is the same. You just hope for health, right?
He's got to be on the field. That's all I need from Northfleet.
Yeah. And then like at running back, you have the same 1-2 punch. And then I actually like the third string option a little better than even last year. I mean, I know we were really excited about Marquise Davis and like wanted to see him get some opportunities.
Yeah.
He ended up not getting them in the big spots. But Ja'Shawn Edwards, all of a sudden, like if you have to turn to him, I feel like can be capable, right?
I won't say that I like him better than Davis, because I would have been perfectly content to retain Davis, but Davis is probably going to be playing 50% or more of the snaps for Louisville. And so like you're going to see him make a Kawan Lacey type leap.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast, but you're not going to look at that longingly because you got two really good ones and then depth behind that, because they went out and signed additional running backs. Edwards probably leading the charge in that rotation. But I feel really good about what the rushing offense is going to be. I feel like Eli Drinkwitz brought Chip Lindsey in for a reason as well. I just feel as though, it's not that they were eager to get rid of Kirby Moore, but I think you could listen to the way Drink spoke throughout the season and know that there are some tweaks that he would like to see to the offense and to the play calling specifically. Like it wasn't just the personnel. I do think there was a play calling element that Drink wants to see play out a little bit differently. And I think he went out and targeted the guy that he thinks can usher that in with the personnel that they'll have on hand. So I am excited to see what, elements are a little bit different about the way they approach the game offensively, but I don't think the running game is going to take a step back whatsoever as a result. I think we can still feel pretty good about that element of their offense. And
also a difference this year, and call or text us with your thoughts on the transfer class after another edition of Malik Bryant today, 573-875-KTGR. Another key difference, I think, from last few years. A lot of these transfers are from power conference schools.
Yeah.
Like they may not be the producers just yet at those power conference schools, but they were maybe behind someone and they're jumping to another power conference school to get their opportunity. And so I think that matters. Being in a room like that, being in an environment that is so competitive in those spots where you're not necessarily guaranteed snaps, that you got to really go out and earn them. Like so many different Mississippi State, Miami, Ole Miss, Houston, Kansas State, Florida State, Cincinnati, Ole Miss again, Michigan, Auburn. They got a bunch of guys from Auburn. Notre Dame.
I love the Auburn gets.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah. So, I mean, and to go along with that, an offensive coordinator that's coming from Power 4 too. So, like that, all of the additions to me point to bringing in folks that know what environments like this can entail and are not going to be shell-shocked or culture-shocked by a step up in tier in the college sports realm.
I agree. I think you had some of that with the previous group. You talked about Zion Young coming from Michigan State, Trotter from West Virginia. Like but to continue that trend and maybe even lean a little bit more heavily into it. But then you talk about Edwards, the running back that comes from the FCS level where he was a 1,100-yard rusher or whatever it was. Like
All-American.
I think they went out and acquired the types of players that they want. And I'll be really curious too. Like they pick up a wide receiver from Auburn, they pick up a wide receiver from Florida, some guys that, maybe didn't see a lot of time at those spaces, but now you're going to be, like you said, entering into a room where that's a level of competition, and you're hoping the cream rises within those groups. You don't necessarily care which one of a position group is going to take charge and become the guy at that spot, but I think you have ushered in enough degree of competition to where somebody's going to make the leap.
875 KTGR. I'm just rehashing through the class right now, and I actually do feel even better than I was trying to go off the top of my head of how the secondary looks, because they got Elijah Dotson from Michigan, who's got he was just a freshman last year, but came onto the scene really quickly and just picking stuff up. Sion Lalea, who's another corner from Oregon. He's actually played within the last couple of years.
And that's not just Power 4. These are teams that were in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
These are teams that have, a bit of a pedigree. Whether, again, you would love to take players that played in the national championship game, right? That played but it's the next best thing, I think, is the way that, like, you can look through the transfer class and see signs of what maybe was going through the coaching staff's mind, through Drinkwitz's mind when you approach it. And it's a bet. It's a gamble that they're making on this type of player, but it's a combination of, like, it's the types of players that they could get without breaking the bank and trying to do a little more with less, because I don't think anyone's under the illusion anymore that Missouri is, number one in NIL in the country. They do well, but they're doing with what they have, trying to make the roster as good as it can be. And I'm intrigued because, you get a bunch of guys from Oregon, you get a bunch of guys from Michigan and places like that. I want to see what those players are all about. No question in my mind.
So call or text us. Malik Bryant, the latest transfer addition for Mizzou football, coming from University of Miami, edge rusher that can add to the room. 875 KTGR. Call or text us with your thoughts on that. We'll look ahead to championship weekend in the NFL with Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com next on The Big Show.
Breaking down the Tigers, Cardinals, Chiefs, and more like no one else. The Big Show continues next on KTGR.
Paradise doesn't have to be far away. Sometimes it's a quiet walk through a state park. Sometimes it's your favorite takeout and a night in. At Shangri-La, we believe that cannabis belongs in those everyday moments, not as an escape, but as part of living well. That's why we offer 20% off select category every day, plus 20% off store-wide every Sunday. Thoughtful products, honest guidance, real value. Shangri-La, discover paradise. Learn more at ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Another winter inside, looking at the snow in your yard that you can't write your name in because you didn't order your new deck from Crutch's Custom Exteriors in time. Don't look ahead to spring cleaning. You're ready for spring peeing and April showers with Freedom Stream Powers off your new Crutch's deck. They can build your pee platform in the winter so it's ready for you to splash your autograph in any springtime snow that's left. CrutchesCustomExteriors.com. True beauty is on the outside.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sticklin McDonald.
And I'm Charlie Sticklin with the Sticklin and Sticklin Law Firm.
And I'm Mizzou Softball's Natalie Touche.
At Sticklin and Sticklin, all we do is personal injury.
We've earned millions for our clients since 1991.
On the diamond, I trust my team. Off the diamond, I trust Sticklin and Sticklin. Don't let the insurance companies strike you out.
Let Sticklin and Sticklin go to bat for you.
Sticklin and Sticklin, it's a home run.
Hi, my name's Robin Fletcher. I've smoked for 46 years. I went to a seminar in March of 27 and seen Mark. My best friend came with me. We both went to it, and neither one of us smoked a cigarette in almost 7.5 months. I took my 3 sisters and my brother-in-law and my sister's best friend and them went. None of them have smoked a cigarette, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
My name is Jen Carpenter. I went to a Mark Patrick seminar, the Stop Smoking, and it worked. A friend of mine also went, and he still no longer smokes, and it was just amazing.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed, only $59.99 or your money back. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all or your money back. Stop Smoking Hypnosis, 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or 8 p.m. on Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Hey, y'all, it's Molly from Billiards. Wishing you a happy new year. You know I've had my resolutions since November, an apple a day. I was very diligent for about a week. We all know that resolutions are hard to keep. So how about a new challenge? Eat a billiards burger a week in 2026. I do.
Boogie on down for burgers and beer. Billiards on Broadway.
An apple a day. I'm just going to make a pie.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Bet on gridiron action and earn perks on every game like hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. Download the app using promo code radio250BM and get your first bet matched as a bonus bet up to $250, whether you win or lose. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Open to new users only. Minimum odds -500. Awarded as non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 14 days after receipt. Bonus bet amount not returned for winning bets void where prohibited. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tired of calling Andy and Brendan? So are their wives. Then shoot them a text right now. 573-875-KTGR and become part of the Big Show.
Back here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brendan here. Big weekend, of course. Lots of college hoops and the NFL championship games going on Sunday. And here to talk with us all about it from the betting angles, from the Vegas perspective, Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com, on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports. And WagerTalk.com is a great place to go for some betting info. So, Robbie, let's start with those championship games. And maybe the NFC side first, with, I think, pretty clearly the two top teams in this conference. As improbable it must have been on the Seattle side, that is how they've looked. And the Rams may be a little more predictable with how they had been set up and the coaching that they have been able to benefit from. But just, I mean, they've had matchups before. They've had great battles already. How have you kind of seen them playing into each other in this matchup and how it might affect how you look at the spread and total, things like that?
Yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned there, Andy, is obviously key, but I don't know what we gain from it. I mean, 2 games played this season against one another because they are divisional rivals. You do the cumulative work on those 2 games and you find that they're separated by 1 point and 1 yard in those 2 games. First game goes Seattle's way statistically. They don't get the win because Sam Darnold turned it over a lot and Jason Myers missed a 61-yarder to try and win it. And then the second game, the wild one where, you know, the Seattle comeback was filled with things like Zach Charbonnet wandering around the park and picking up a football and ended up with a 2-point conversion. But on the Rams side, 580 yards in that game. So obviously Sean McVay went to the tape, saw something, implemented it. Rams scored, Seahawks scored. This time around, with this game, I start here, guys. To me, the worst unit on the field, offense, defense, is the Rams defense. It's still a pass rush only. Not much on the back end of this defense. Last week against Chicago, I would say Rome Odunze is supposed to catch that ball in the first quarter for 7 points, and Ben Johnson probably played himself out of 6 by going for it twice within field goal range and in 4th down situations where maybe it was a little tougher than, you know, what the analytics consider go, go, go. So there's 13 right there that the Bears could have had, and maybe it wouldn't have even gotten into overtime. So I still don't know that the Rams defense is that good. What I was confused about in that Rams game is how they didn't adjust to the Bears running the same corner blitz, I don't know, a dozen times and being successful every time. Matthew Stafford looked human. But for the Rams, it's going to be so good to be out of the rainy weather conditions in Carolina, the wind and snow in Chicago, and now to Seattle where the weather looks perfect. I really feel like Matthew Stafford, much like I felt about Josh Allen last week, he's going to get his on the scoreboard. And if you're the Seattle coaching staff, you can't just go in and game plan and, you know, as if you're going to win this game 20-17 the way the game was played last week. You have to score to beat Stafford. This time around, he's got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams at wide receiver. Didn't have them the last time when they scored in the 30s. And for Seattle, they have Charles Cross back. He didn't play left tackle in the previous game. And they also activated Elijah Arroyo and George Holani about an hour ago for this game. So the loss of Zach Charbonnet might not be felt as much with Holani in now. Arroyo adds to the passing game. This game got bet down far enough, guys, for me to go ahead and play over. It got down to 46.5. And again, when you're doing this every day like I am, you're just looking for numbers mostly. And 47 wins the game for you now. I could see 24-23. I could see 27-20. I could see some form of 47 or better being scored here. So I'm going to take over in that game. And I kind of lean Seattle because it's less than a field goal. But again, this is a coin flip game, really, the rubber match between the two. But I do think you'll see points again. Stafford will look much better than he did last week, and we should get over 46.5.
Yeah, I want to trust the Rams to put up the points, but man, that defense is certainly something that can lead toward over, especially with what we saw the last time they played. How about the AFC game, though, Robbie? Obviously, the big change being the quarterback situation for Denver with Bo Nix out. How much do you adjust what you think of this Broncos team based on Jarrett Stidham, and how does that play into the way that you're expecting this game to go?
Well, mostly we wait till we see how the odds maker adjusts, and then we counterpunch, right? And this game showed up as a 5.5-point opener in favor of New England, bet down since then to -4.5. A little bit of Bronco money trickling in. And, after the initial shock, Brendan, I didn't realize Bo Nix was even hurt in that game at the end. Many people didn't, I guess. And the initial shock, when I heard it, I'm like, oh, Denver's screwed next week. And then you kind of put the shock away and get to some rational thinking. And I would say this, I'm going to be on Denver plus the 4.5, but I think it's genuinely more of me having reasons to bet against New England than having reasons to bet on Denver. For instance, I feel like New England's defense is getting a lot of praise for what they did in their 2 home games, but I kind of neutralize or negate that by saying they played 2 of the worst offensive lines in the NFL the last 2 weeks, 2 of the bottom 5. The Chargers couldn't protect Justin Herbert all season long. Obviously, we know about the injuries. The Texans couldn't protect C.J. Stroud all season long. We know about the problems they had on the offensive line. And New England took advantage, made those 2 quarterbacks look bad. What helps Jarrett Stidham in this game is he has the number 1 pass protection unit in the NFL. And the normal saying when you have a backup quarterback in the game is a running game is the backup quarterback's best friend. Here it might be the offensive line is the quarterback's best friend because Jarrett Stidham has the other tools. He can throw. He's been in the Denver system a couple of years. He's not going to have the run plays incorporated into the game plan the way Bo Nix would. You're not going to run him intentionally, A, because you don't want to get him hurt, because otherwise I think you're staring at Ben DiNucci, and B, because he just doesn't do that as well as Bo Nix. However, pocket mobility, ability to scramble for 8-10 yards if a play breaks down, he's got all of that. So he should be okay in this game plan. I worry way more on the Denver side about the health of the 2 wide receivers, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin. Both guys wound up in the concussion tent. I don't think they've been cleared yet, guys. Maybe you know better than me, but I haven't seen them cleared. If they are cleared to play in this game, and Denver has their full complement of wide receivers, the running game, maybe J.K. Dobbins even comes back here, I've heard this week. They've probably got enough on the offensive side to go after a New England defense that, again, it kind of benefited from 2 teams that couldn't move the football, period. They had no running game. And I think they had no running game because the New England side never respected the pass of the Chargers or the Texans, especially without Nico Collins. Nobody could separate. The fundamentals of this game to me just say that New England's 2 wins at home are somewhat overrated. I think the play of Drake May is getting somewhat overhyped because his overall body of work, he made some big plays, don't get me wrong, some clutch plays, but the overall body of work in those 2 games, New England never really broke free in either one until the opposing defenses just gave up, right? The offense can't move the football. We've been keeping this damn patched up for 3 quarters. We can't do it anymore. So you got to go on the road now, try and do that again. I'm not sure they can, at least to the tune of winning by 5. I think 4.5 is a big number here in this game. So I'll probably be on the Broncos. I see a lot of money on this total over the number. 42.5 are now starting to give way to 43s in some places.
Sure. Rob Veno of wagertalk.com here on the Big Show KTGR. So if that is a theory that holds up to be true, that Jared Stidham could be just as capable, maybe not all the way to what Bo Nix was, but it's going to give them what they need offensively. Does that mean that because of this change, there may be player props out there that are undervalued, like similar receiving totals for some of those wide receivers? Of course, there are guys that could be out for it for the Broncos, but is a lot of that maybe getting too much of a bump down? And do you see added value for maybe going over some of those numbers there?
Yeah, I know multiple guys, colleagues of mine, guys in this industry that already have bet Jared Stidham rushing yards over. Just figuring that if he's pressured a couple of times, he's going to have to break out of the pocket. And the number was fairly low. I'm not big on props until the Super Bowl comes, so I don't have the exact number for you guys right now. But I know Jared Stidham over. You'll probably wait to see where George Holani gets listed for the Seahawks as far as his rushing yards over-under is concerned, because Kenneth Walker isn't the kind of back that goes every down. He comes out of the game a lot, and obviously Zach Charbonnet fills in. This time it'll be Holani, so we'll see if you could bet him over. If there's a replacement receiver for either Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin, or if you just figure that the ball's got to go to Cortland Sutton or Marvin Mims a little more, I think the sleeper in the whole bunch would be Evan Ingram. So there are props out there. I just don't study them well enough until the Super Bowl. So there are some names out there that you could get to, though, here, Andy.
Going to be very interesting to try to figure out a way to dive in for some of those player props. Robbie, let's ask you about some college hoops. It's been kind of an up and down start to conference play for Missouri. They, weather permitting, will be hosting Oklahoma on Saturday afternoon in Columbia. How do you view what you've seen from this Mizzou team recently, and how does that help you handicap them when it comes to the sports betting angle?
Yeah, I think they're hard to handicap at this point in time. You know, the game the other day, the other night was a heartbreaker against Georgia with the completion of the 3-point play at the end there, and Georgia going on to win. For Missouri guys, and I don't know, you guys see them every single night. I see them almost every single time they play. But their offense just seems to be way too up and down at this point in time. And I never know when I'm going to get a good effort, field goal percentage-wise, beyond the arc, shooting. Generally, Cruz is good, but not always good enough. So for that reason, they're hard for me to handicap. A, as a side, and B, as a total play. However, in this game against Oklahoma, you're coming off a home loss. I usually use this theory for 500 teams or better. If you've lost the first game of a home back-to-back, I'll generally look to that side the second time around, which means I would look at Missouri here in this game against Oklahoma, which has become a pretty solid scoring team. I don't think it's that much in the way of defense. You could get to the over here. I haven't seen numbers posted yet on this one, guys, so I can't give any, real leans. But I would say I start the process with a look at Missouri to bounce back from a home loss the other night, and possibly a look at this total going over. We'll see with the odds makers price it.
Robbie, what free pick do you like this weekend?
Oh, goodness. Let's just go to tonight, one day at a time, right, Andy? One day at a time. We'll go to college basketball, Big Ten style tonight. Indiana plays Rutgers. I isolated the Indiana team total. It's 76.5 tonight. I bet it over. Indiana's on a 4-game losing streak, but, close examination of those 4 shows that they probably played the 4 best defenses in the Big Ten in those 4 games. Darian DeVries, the new head coach, brought his son with him, Tucker, who was a star at Drake. But, boy, he had a tough time shooting against those really good Big Ten defenses. Here, you get Rutgers, not a very good Big Ten defense. Indiana should be able to open up. They've got a lot of offensive weaponry. I think DeVries plays better. The whole team plays better. I don't trust them to lay 7.5 on the road with them, but I do trust them to get to 77 points tonight. So that's going to be the play I leave you guys with. Indiana college basketball tonight. Team total over 76.5.
Love it. He's our guy, Rob Veno, wagertalk.com, sports from a Vegas perspective. So go and check out his info over at wagertalk.com and follow him on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports. And hear him here every Friday here on the big show, KTGR. Thanks, Robbie, for coming on once again. Stay warm, stay safe, and enjoy some hoops and football this weekend. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, same to you guys. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
You too. It's 4:47 here on the big show, KTGR and the KTGR app. We have Under the Bus next. Brendan, I feel like we might have to rename the Under the Bus segment and just call it college sports. Whatever's happening in college sports now just seems to be bus-worthy these days.
Move it to the top of the list every day.
That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Hermes, and this live local Sports Center is brought to you by Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Mizzou men's basketball prepares to host Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon from Mizzou Arena. The Tigers are coming off a 74-72 loss this past Tuesday against the Georgia Bulldogs. Mizzou enters the game with a 13-6 record on the season and a 3-3 record in conference play. Oklahoma enters the game with a record of 11-8 and a 1-5 clip in SEC play. Tip-off from Columbia is at 1 o'clock right here on KTGR. Mizzou women's basketball fell last night to 18th-ranked Ole Miss 82-61. Grace Slaughter led the way for the Tigers in the game with 21 points. Tigers fell to 13-9 overall, a 1-6 record in SEC play. The Tigers will be back in action again this weekend when they host the Texas A&M Aggies from Mizzou Arena at 5 p.m. right here on KTGR. And 7th-ranked Mizzou gymnastics will be back in action this evening, traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on 2nd-ranked Alabama. Start time for the duel against the Crimson Tide is slated for 6:30. And Mizzou Wrestling will host 5th-ranked Oklahoma State from Hearn Center this evening. Tiger-style wrestling is 2-0 in conference play, beating Arizona State and Utah Valley both on the road last weekend. Start time between the Cowboys and Tigers is set for 6:30. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is next.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and ABC 17 Storm Track Weather Alert Day is in effect through the entire weekend as I'm tracking snow showers moving in by early tomorrow morning. We're going to see several inches of blowing snow with very cold wind chills dropping down to about -15 by morning and staying around 0 throughout the day tomorrow. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Welcome to every gym in January. Membership prices, crazy high. Crowds, even worse. All just to wait in line for a bench. Or, hear me out, you could build your own home gym from Play It Again Sports. Free weights, dumbbells, plates, treadmills, ellipticals, benches, racks, and more. New and used. At prices that don't feel like a crime. No crowds, no monthly fees, no awkward eye contact with Chad curling on the squat rack. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Man, I love seeing the old gang at these reunions. Did you see Brian? He's in better shape than he was 25 years ago. How is that even possible? Yep, I ran into him a few weeks ago and had to ask. He told me he started taking Nugenix Total T2. The testosterone booster? Yeah, but it's way more than that now. It also skyrockets your nitric oxide in as little as 3 hours. I started taking it right away and I'm already seeing results. I was wondering what you were doing. You seriously crushed me in that pickup game last week. Yep, after 40, energy, strength, drive, it all starts going downhill. But with T2, I feel like my old self again. Stronger, leaner, and my energy is way up. My wife even noticed a difference. They're giving out complimentary bottles right now. Just send them a text.
Text TAP to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of new Nugenix Total T2. Text now and you'll also get a free bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator. That's TAP to 215-215. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Product not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
Hey, this is Jimmy with Pro Designs, and maybe you've heard, we're the vehicle wrap specialists, but branding your business doesn't stop there. At Pro Designs, we can wrap your walls, windows, even floors.
Go to ProDesigns.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
Okay, the limb is hanging over the driveway. I need this pruned.
Oh, call the electrician.
An electrician?
Yeah, or maybe your HVAC guy.
You've officially lost it. I need an expert in the right field.
Fine. Call that lawn company. They mow and prune.
Yeah, they also scalped your yard last summer.
When it comes to trees, trust the experts who actually know trees. Ones that are trained and educated for pruning, planting, and removals done right. Call Eric at Advanced Tree Solutions, your tree's best friend. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
You know your favorites. Now it's time to put them on the map. Nominations are open for Inside Columbia Magazine's Best of Columbia 2026. Now through March 1st. Nominate the businesses and places you love, including Best Mexican Food, Best Spa, Best Steak, Best Hairstylist, Best Lawn Care, and more. You can nominate once per day. So come back and support the businesses you love most. Best of Columbia 2026 starts with you. Nominate today at InsideColumbia.net.
From the trainers to the coaches, the equipment managers to the players and fans, it takes a whole team to be truly successful. Hi, this is Sophie Cunningham, and if you're looking for the best team of jewelers in Columbia, it's Betts. Their staff has years of experience handcrafting jewelry, and when you combine that with the newest technology, it gives Betts Jewelers the ability to truly wow their customers. So talk to the team at your hometown jeweler today. Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia.
These beautiful moments begin at Betts. Begin at Betts.
If it's Mizzou sports, it's happening here. Now, back to the big show on KTGR.
It's time to go under the bus on the big show.
I present to you the absolute slop that spilled out of Nate Oates' mouth, Alabama basketball coach, when he tried to defend the Charles Bediako situation. Take a listen.
So first of all, the system's clearly broken, and I'm all for figuring out a way to fix it. But since the NCAA has already allowed professionals to play virtually every team we've played this year or will play as a former professional player on their roster, you tell me how I'm supposed to tell Charles and the team that we're not going to support them when he's been deemed legally eligible to play. So Charles is still within his 5-year window. He's 23 years old. He's pursuing his degree here at Alabama. We've got a roster spot open, so this is not taking any opportunities away from a high school recruit or anybody else. Charles shouldn't be punished for choosing to go the academic route out of high school rather than the professional route like the international players did.
Give me a break. Doubling down on the dumb.
He knew, too, that people were going to ask about the high school player opportunity comment that he had made, and so he puts that in there to make sure he cuts that off at the pass. It reminds me of something that I would hear from, like, my grandma as a kid. 2 wrongs don't make a right. But he's basically saying, well, those European guys got to do it, so give me. I want one, too. I don't have any respect left for him.
No.
I really don't.
And here's
by
thing.
the way,
yeah.
The judge is an Alabama super donor. Evidently, now it's being reported his wife, the judge's wife, is representing Darius Miles in the murder case. That was like, this is so clearly corrupt, the whole process by which this came to be. And yet, it's just allowed to happen.
Under the bus.
Good luck at Alabama next week, Mizzou. Like, come on. And we don't have time, but under the bus to, I guess, Pete Golding or I guess Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney was just ready to just name Pete Golding and the tampering that is allegedly happening. Texting
He said they were texting one of the players that had already committed to Clemson while he was in class, asking how much his buyout was. And, like, I don't doubt that it's happening. You just can't even bring me to care about the tampering stuff anymore.
Yeah.
If you're not tampering, you're not trying, because there's really no recourse at this
Under
point.
the bus.
Dabo Swinney should know that. He wants to play by the rules, but no one's doing that. So,
yeah, poor Dabo.
It's time for the sweetest thing in sports on the big show.
This is very cool. Just announced within the last hour or so, Mizzou Club Hockey will now have a women's team as well. They will officially form for next hockey season, 2026-2027. They'll probably, it looks like they'll just do some practices, some team building, maybe a few games mixed in next year with the expectation to fully be competing by the 2027-2028 hockey season. Very cool. So the Mizzou club hockey already with a men's team that's been very successful. They're going to add a women's team as well. That is really cool.
Love that. Yeah, that's a really nice note. And, you always like to see some additions of those types of programs getting off the ground.
So I assume they'll likely compete in the same rink over in Jefferson City and be looking forward to that for next year. Coming up, Mizzou will play Oklahoma tomorrow. That's still on. So we'll talk about what we think is going to happen in the game, plus the NFL championship weekend predictions we have and our picks of the week next on The Big Show.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Hypnosis, only $59.99. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Bet on gridiron action and earn perks on every game like hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. Download the app using promo code radio250BM and get your first bet matched as a bonus bet up to $250, whether you win or lose. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Open to new users only. Minimum odds minus 500. Awarded as non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 14 days after receipt. Bonus bet amount not returned for winning bets. Void where prohibited. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're a merchant of all things that are man. Firearms, fishing, cars, food, sports. Yeah, the kind of stuff every man always needs more of. So show it off at the Mecca of Man. The 2026 Como Man Show, Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. It's the best and most fun way to show every man they need what you got. Seriously, by showing them. Bring your best stuff, show it off, and have a blast. For more info on being a vendor at the Man Show, go to ComoManShow.com.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR.
I'm Ed Bank, and it is championship weekend in the NFL. The Super Bowl matchups will be decided. First up on Sunday will be the Patriots and the Broncos in Denver. After the Broncos and Patriots do battle, will be division rivals in the NFC title game with the Seahawks hosting the Rams. Seattle quarterback Sam Darnold says he is ready to go despite continuing to deal with an oblique injury.
Feel really good. Feeling really good this whole week. Feel like the process is going right along where it should be. So feel really good for Sunday.
Both games between the Rams and the Seahawks were decided by one score earlier this season. Meanwhile, the searching continues for coaches for several teams. One of the Buffalo Bills reportedly interviewed former quarterback Phillip Rivers today, along with former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. There are currently 5 teams with head coaching openings in the NFL. In baseball, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan, the White Sox have signed reliever Sir Anthony Dominguez to a 2-year deal worth $20 million. NBA tonight, it is an NBA Finals rematch as the Pacers visit the Thunder. Oklahoma City 37-8, Indiana just 10-35. College basketball, number 3, Michigan will play host to Ohio State.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
From Faro.
15 to the 10 to the house.
Bush.
Back to the wall. And it's got her.
And Arrowhead.
Touchdown. Kansas City.
To your speakers.
This is the Big Show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is the Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
Getting you set for the weekend, which, hey, if you're going to brave the conditions to go and catch some Mizzou basketball tomorrow or some Mizzou wrestling, or some Mizzou women's hoops on Sunday, kudos to you. If not, obviously hunker down, stay safe, things like that as the snow comes in. In the meantime, we'll discuss Mizzou men's hoops tomorrow. Who you got, Tigers or the Oklahoma Sooners? We'll talk about who we got in the NFL championship weekend for this Sunday, who's going to be punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. And before we go, as we always do on Friday, our picks of the week, college hoops and NFL championship weekend style. 875-KTGR if you want to give us a call or a text. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
As of now, according to Mizzou Athletics, just earlier today, the men's basketball game for Saturday at 1 p.m. against Oklahoma is on track to be played with some modifications in terms of travel and parking. Make sure to check out the Mizzou Athletics website for full details there. The Tigers, -4.5, according to the various jurisdictions of legality as they are. Supposed to win this game at home, really need to bounce back after the loss to Georgia at home in the previous game. This is one that really you got to have, I think, if you want to continue to keep pace to potentially landing a plus 500 record on your SEC schedule, and I think that's what you'll need to make the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma's a beatable team. Hopefully Missouri able to get it done on Saturday afternoon.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Elsewhere in the sporting world this weekend, it's championship weekend in the NFL. The NFC championship game, Seahawks are a slight home favorite. We've seen the Seahawks and the Rams already a couple of times this year. Their last regular season meeting, probably the game of the year in the NFL, if not one on a very short list. This time the Rams will attack with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in this matchup. I just wonder if the Rams defense, though, will be enough to be able to contain what can be a very explosive Seattle offense in this game. I kind of want to see the underdog Rams pull it off, but if they don't, I think their defense is what will cause them to fall short. We'll make our predictions coming up in a bit.
Number 3.
We'll also predict the AFC Championship game, and the more I think about this matchup, the more I wonder if the Bo Nix to Jarrett Stidham change is not maybe the end of the world for Denver, because they're a team built on their run game and more than anything, their defense. And as we talked with Rob Veno of Wager Talk, I wonder if the Patriots defense is maybe looking a little bit better on paper than what really they have produced. They haven't necessarily been challenged by high quality offenses yet in these playoffs. I just kind of wonder if maybe we're writing Denver off too fast.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Mizzou women's hoops fell to Ole Miss last night. Tigers trailed by just 6 in a low halftime score, but the Rebels poured it on in the second half, 82-61. The final. Missouri just 1-6 now in conference play, getting pushed around a little bit in that gauntlet of the SEC for women's hoops.
Number 5.
Where's the 5 fingers? Say to the face. Slap.
Good boost for Mizzou. Football in the transfer portal, Malik Bryant commits. A linebacker turned edge rusher from Michigan. Missed most of this year with injury. We think that's what the bat signal was from yesterday morning from Drink. Still hoping, though, for positive news on wide receiver out of Ole Miss, Caden Lee. He's got the connection with Austin Simmons. We'd love to see that.
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
875-KTGR if you want to give us a call or a text. Yeah, we'll see when that does, in fact, get announced. I have to think probably soon, but we'll see.
It's the Chambliss thing, man. That's what makes you wonder if there's really going to be an issue there, because if he decides or they decide he can play, then would one of his top weapons that could return say, hey, I want to play with him. But we'll see. Austin Simmons and his social media presence seemingly indicating good things, so we got to wait and see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, all they got to do is get a judge from Oxford and rule on that, and then you're good.
Yeah, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Then we're in trouble if that's what they get. It's crazy how easy that is to pull off, apparently.
So, Ole Miss, what are you doing? You don't need to tamper and try to text players that have already signed. You just have to, play by what the
find a corrupt judge.
That's all you need. Wanted to also get to this before we get to the basketball. Give us your predictions for Mizzou, Oklahoma tomorrow at 875-KTGR. As expected, it's going to be a 12-team playoff again next year in college football. They're going to stay at that number of teams. Couldn't come to an agreement, obviously, to expand it to 16 or 24, which was what the Big Ten wants for next year. So kicking that can down the road again. However, Brendan, did you clock the fact that it will not be exactly the same next year in the 12-team playoff based on how the teams get selected. There are two key stipulations now. First, all Power 4 conference champions get an auto bid. So that would have meant this year Duke would have been in instead of James Madison.
Which I don't think is a productive change at all, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Duke's a better team than James Madison? Do you think Duke was better than James Madison or vice versa?
No, I don't think Duke is better than James Madison, but I also just think if you lose, when they lose 5 games, like you don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. Give me a break. Like there's just no reason to have made that change, but they're placating entities that don't necessarily deserve it, and the next thing out of your mouth is going to be the way they're doing the same for Notre Dame.
Yeah. The Notre Dame stipulation is that if Notre Dame is ranked in the top 12, they are guaranteed a bid, which means if that stipulation were in place this year, they would have been in instead of Miami. So, yeah.
That's mind-blowing to me because they were ranked lower than Miami, right? By the time it was all said and done.
Right. But
they would have been
they're still in the top 12.
Yeah, so they would have been granted an auto bid. So college football looked at the way that the playoff played out, that Miami was a team that was not going to be included until they decided to change the final rankings without any new information.
Right.
And then they saw Miami worthy and reached the final of the sport and said, no, but Notre Dame was sad. What are we doing?
But here's the thing. Here's what they would have done. If that rule were in place last year, then they would have not ranked Miami ahead of Notre Dame.
No, they would not.
They would not have done that because then
because it would have looked bad.
Right, exactly. So they're just going to hide behind the rules.
It's so phony.
Say like, yeah, it's so dumb. Like that's why Notre Dame will never join a conference. There's no reason to.
Because we keep giving them whatever they want without really any reason for it. They don't have to play a sanctioned schedule.
Right.
They can do whatever they want there, and they just get top 12. That's good enough for us.
Right.
Why make that change?
And they still get the money from all the TV dollars, and they don't have to share it with anybody. They get their own slice.
It doesn't make any sense. It's an outdated, antiquated way of doing things to, bend to the whim. And I get it. This year they didn't technically bend to the whim of Notre Dame because they didn't make the playoff. Wait. What if we took it a step further? You said Duke would be in.
Yeah.
Notre Dame would have been in.
Yeah.
Does that mean Alabama would have been out?
No. They still would have been in because they were ranked ahead of Miami.
Oh, so James Madison.
James Madison is the team that would have been kicked out because of Duke.
Got it. Yeah, so you would have still had Tulane as the G5 representative, but there wouldn't have been a second one because that notion that the ACC champ or the Big 12 champ could lose out is no longer going to be in effect.
Right.
I don't think that was a change that they needed to make. And by the way, I know the SEC was the side kind of resisting the expanded playoff because the Big 10 and their commissioner wanted 16-team playoff and kind of a path to 24 in the near future. The SEC is like, not so fast. We're not so sure about that. And so that's why you stagnate it where they're at 12. But none of this is good for the SEC in 2026, 27. I'm just talking about the immediate future, the long-term future. Maybe they retain some leverage about the way that looks. But there's no way that you can sell me on it benefiting the SEC that you could have a scenario where there are 6 auto bids tied up into automatic admittance into the playoff.
Right.
There could come a day where that does cost an SEC team. Now, the committee probably wouldn't position it that way, just like you talked about with the Notre Dame thing. If there was a team that was on the borderline, bump them down a couple spots so it doesn't really look like it was close. And
exactly.
that the SEC team was the one left out. But again, the path is narrowing as the SEC is going to increase the number of their quality teams that instead of finishing 10-2 will finish 9-3 this coming year because of the additional game. It's just it's math. It's not really, there's no other bias associated with my take other than the math of it, unless the committee makes a big change in the way that they honor the performance of a 9-3 SEC team. I think you could see the SEC kind of PO'd by the end of the next season, 12 months from now, going, man, we didn't really get a lot of credit for playing that 9th game. Maybe they don't care because it's making everybody more money, which at the end of the day is what they maybe care the most about. But in terms of getting teams into the playoff, I am very curious to see because when we talked about it in July, August, all the way in the lead up to would they approve this 9-game schedule, I thought it would come with the SEC exercising some of its leverage and saying, like, we need some guarantees. Nothing has changed. And if anything, there are less opportunities for at-large coming in the next iteration of the college football playoff. So I will be curious how that will play out.
But they probably got the assurances from the committee that, okay, yeah, once you get on 9 games, then you will have your schedule. Everyone's schedule will look better, and we will acknowledge that. So we'll just see how that
that's a
looks.
handshake agreement. That's not like anything in writing. I mean, it's in writing, but how will they do it?
I understand that, but after a year where they got 5 teams in,
yeah,
I think they'll be fine.
But who are the teams? Who are the teams that you feel like? Alabama was at 9.
Yeah.
Miami got in,
and a team that Miami would have not been in because of Notre Dame being in. So even if that stipulation was in place, SEC still would have had 5 teams.
And that was based on not dropping Alabama for losing the SEC championship game, which is not really going to be applicable here, because if you're in the SEC championship game, I don't think you'll go 9-3. So like, it's not like you're going to probably have a 9-4 team in that spot. Mm-hmm. But Oklahoma, like you very easily could have had Oklahoma ranked behind Alabama. They didn't ultimately after Bama lost to Georgia. But what if that spot of the 4th or 5th best SEC team next year is a 9-3 instead of a 10-2 Oklahoma? Like, I think that the additional loss will move that team down, which is like common sense. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just think from the SEC perspective, there will be some unhappy folks if that's the way that it's litigated with regard to next year's rankings.
We'll see. I still think they kind of run this show, and even the CFP committee knows that.
I hope so. Because I don't think it's wrong that a 9-3 SEC will get in, as long as there's none of them lose to like a Kentucky. That was the Ole Miss problem 2 years ago. As long as the losses aren't ugly, 9-3s for SEC can be massaged into the field. I think.
Sure. Slim margin for error, I think, with some of that, but maybe you get a slight bump from the fact that you replace Tennessee Tech with, Ole Miss, Auburn, someone like that. Maybe not an elite SEC team, and there were several non-elite SEC teams this year, but it's better than the alternative. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, still a 12-team playoff, but a couple of changes as to how the auto bids might work. Give us a call or a text with what you think on that, 573-875-KTGR. Okay, so tomorrow, it's on for now. Mizzou and Oklahoma basketball, 1 o'clock tomorrow at Mizzou Arena. Probably not going to be as full of an arena this time.
Mm-hmm.
So with all of that, how do we look at this matchup for Mizzou? Important one for them to get. We got Rob Veno's thoughts on it. And he says, look, generally speaking, when a team has 2 home games in a row and they drop the first one, they say, okay, no nonsense in the second one. Let's make sure we get this. And it's there's that aspect, and also the fact that Mizzou is facing a lesser opponent than what they were facing Tuesday night.
Yeah, Oklahoma's not very good.
No.
This is one you got to find a way to get. Checking out the Ken Palm, they are 62nd in Ken Palm. That defense is outside the top 100, 119th in defensive efficiency. That if it's not bottom of the SEC, it's got to be close, and I think it very well may be. Mississippi is a lower ranked team overall, but they've got Mississippi State, lower ranked overall, but a higher rated defense. So even South Carolina is 72nd in defense. So you might be talking about the worst defensive basketball team in the conference.
Yeah, so you can score on them. This might be a game that you can get to 80, and maybe it's necessary to get to 80. I don't know. Here's what I want to see. I want to see Mizzou hunker down better defensively, and particularly on the boards. Clean up more of those misses than you were able to clean up against Georgia this past weekend, because to their credit, Oklahoma does do fairly well at offensive rebounding. Not elite, but very good. 53rd in offensive rebounding percentage in the country. And they also don't turn it over much. So when you're talking about trying to take possessions away from them, they're not very they're not very keen to be giving it away, and they also can find ways to get extra ones with their offensive rebounding abilities. So, look, I think it's a game where Mizzou's been competing with teams like this in rebounding and similar metrics like this in the past in SEC play. So they got to get back to that. You can't have 19 offensive rebounds like you had given up against Georgia on Tuesday night. That, and then also like a Mark Mitchell game. That you can pound the rock inside to Mark Mitchell and let him dictate the proceedings, if you ask me. And if they surround him, well, he knows how to deal with that. He knows how to pass out to guys that are open.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that needs to be the way that this goes down. And I agree with you about the rebounding thing. There was nothing more demoralizing than watching that possession where Georgia had 5 chances at it when you're trying to mount a charge toward the end of a game. It saps a lot of the momentum. So you just cannot allow something like that to happen again. And just playing the transitive property game, like this is a team that's gone on the road most recently, losing by 9 to a pretty mediocre, aggressively mediocre South Carolina team. They lost by 19 at Mississippi State, which is the lowest rated team in Ken Pom in the league. Their performances on the road have shown us nothing to believe that Mizzou shouldn't be able to handle business here. Lost by 7 at Texas A&M on the road is their best road performance in conference play so far. So this is definitely one that no matter how you slice it, you have to find a way to be able to win the game, to kind of keep your aspirations right where they ought to be.
So call or text us with your thoughts on Mizzou hoops, 875-KTGR. It's also at your place. I know it's not the home court advantage that you usually get with mouths in the building that make noise and make it hard on the opponent. But your opponent had to change its schedule most likely to get here. And so they're the ones that are thrown off routine. So you're
already here.
Yeah. You are in the building. You have had the same type of schedule, more than likely than what your opponent has had. Take advantage of this. This has to be a game that Mizzou locks down. And then when they move on to their others, I mean, at Alabama will be a tough one. We'll see what kind of shot they can give the Crimson Tide, and if they're actually playing, there should be an eligible player in that game. That's the day of the hearing, right? Isn't it? So that's like decision day for real of what he might, whether he can play the rest of the season or not, if I'm not mistaken.
Eligible to play until January 27th.
That's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they allow him to play that game, even though the hearing is that day. But
I would say that the result, because I mean the game's going to be at night. I would assume the hearing would be during the day, hopefully in the morning. Yeah. So really, the Tennessee game is the only one that should be under the current structure, and then they'll get an answer. Which, what do you think's actually going to happen with that? If you had to guess, I'm assuming the same judge doesn't get to rule. So
well, and the NCAA will have a case of look what happened with the Darian Mensah thing. That judge recused himself when he had a connection to the school. So shouldn't you do the same thing? They'll at least have that moral high ground to stand on. But
if the NCAA can't build a case that they can present within 100 seconds,
right,
that makes this an easy decision to say, look, if nothing else, this Alabama superfan is who pushed this through. Do you really want this to be your precedent-setting case in college athletics? Because this guy donates, 6 figures or above every year to boost the program.
Mm-hmm.
And he's literally boosting the program in such an unethical way. Yeah, this judge on the Duke case did this. This is what should have happened. And then, if you want to relitigate it with somebody else that doesn't have such a conflict of interest, you'd be my guest. But you can't let this stand. So I feel crazy predicting this, but I'm going to say, without knowing exactly who will be presiding over this hearing on the 27th, I assume it's going to be somebody else and somebody with a little bit more of a lack of bias in the situation. I will predict that they do not allow for him to continue playing, which will mean he wouldn't face Missouri and would be it would just be a circus as to how that result against Tennessee gets viewed, assuming Nate Oates plays in, which, based on his press conference today, he's planning to do.
insane.
I'm trying to keep faith in the system by saying, like, we will all collectively come to an understanding that this should not happen. Not that Bediako shouldn't be eligible to play. Like, I don't know. It is weird that you consider all the European players that play professionally and they come over because they haven't played college hoops. And so, yeah, I'm going to go to school now and play basketball. Like, that's definitely not something that would have flown in the old days when it was very clear what eligibility entailed. But you cannot have an Alabama superfan whose wife is representing a former Alabama player in a murder case presently. You can't have this guy be the one that gets to set the precedent for the way that all of these are going to be handled. So that's what where I'm hoping. It's kind of like the Damon Williams thing. For a day, we were like, "Oh my gosh, is this really going to happen?" Right. and then like a day later, it was okay. I read the contract. It's not. I'm hoping that that's what happens here. I'm going to be optimistic maybe in that prediction, but it obviously will impact Mizzou's next game after this OU matchup if Bediako is still able to play despite having a professional career in the middle of his last appearance for the Tide.
College sports, man. How
you gotta love?
How did we get here? Here's the thing. I do love them. I do love them. This is so. The games themselves are so enjoyable. The stories, the people, it is all so enjoyable. I just wish we had concrete rules around them, right?
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for.
Hey, speaking of which, we love the college game. Would you like to, this is a little bit of a tangent, but not a huge one. Not for me. Would you like to, unless you've seen it on your screen, take a guess at what the halftime score right now is between SLU and St. Bonaventure? I guess they're playing early because of the weather. I don't know.
Fighting Adrian
but they're at halftime.
Wojnarowski's.
SLU on the road in this game, by the way. It's halftime right now.
All right. I'll say up 20.
It's 58-26. What? They might hang 100 on Woj.
I mean,
I want Mizzou to get good and get in the tournament so that we can, like, let's put SLU Mizzou as a second round matchup. You know, let's like have that carrot
SLU's
being
the
dangled
3
out
seed
there.
and Mizzou is the
it would be
10?
more. Good.
No,
that's a good question.
Be the 11.
I'll come
be
up
the
with
11th
it.
seed. That's what it
Mizzou could be an 11, have to play in Dayton. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I don't want them matched up in the first round, but I do want both of them to make it. I can't believe it. I mean, SLU's crushing it, but you know what? Mizzou should crush it on Saturday. I don't know about how easily this will come, Andy, but if you ask me who I've got, I'll take the Tigers in this one.
Yeah.
The spread's 4.5. Just looked a moment ago. I don't really know about that. Give me 80-76 Mizzou. I think it's one of those where like they're in control, but for some reason they can't quite really do the stiff arm to make it a blowout by the end.
For what it's worth, the KenPom projection said 80-75 Mizzou. You were not far off of that.
I swear I don't even have access to that.
Right,
I don't pay for it.
So
I didn't know.
They say 5-point win. It's right around the spread, so it's about right. I do think they outperform it a little bit. I think they need to. I think they have to really
they don't go up
come up
if they don't outperform it.
And they have not dropped from the Georgia game at all. Like they have stayed exactly where they were. They were projected to lose by 1. They lost by 2. But I think putting a hurt on this Oklahoma team could give them a bit of a boost, which I think it wouldn't hurt to have that before going into Alabama. I say Mizzou wins 84-70.
That'd be awesome. I would feel very good about that.
So give us your score predictions, Tiger fans. 875-KTGR. Game is still on for tomorrow, 1 o'clock. You'll hear it with pregame coverage beginning at 12:30 right here on KTGR. In the meantime, we'll give our predictions for NFL Championship weekend next before our picks of the week here on The Big Show.
The Big Show with Andy and Brendan continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hey, Columbia, this is Coach Agnew from API. I've got a New Year's deal for you don't want to miss. If you've been thinking about getting in shape, now's the perfect time to jump in. Sign up at API before the end of January and get your first 31 days for just $31. That's right, 31 days, $31. With expert coaching, a supportive community, and all the tools you'll need to crush your fitness goals. There's never been a better time to join the API family. So come on in and let's make this year your strongest year yet. Sign up now at APIprojectfitness.com.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband, and he lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend lost 20 pounds her first 2 months.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis, guaranteed only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. That's right. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 o'clock. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's office. It's hard to believe basketball season is already here. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill reminds you that whether you need a place to grab a bite after a local high school or college game, or you just want to plop down with some friends and watch some hoops on TV, they've got a spot for you. 1851 Underground has drink specials and discount happy-tizers for happy hour. Check them out on Facebook or at 1851underground.com. It's not a secret, but it is underground. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill in the historic Brick District, downtown Fulton.
You don't just sell, you connect. You listen, learn, and deliver. You build relationships that turn clients into partners. At Fuse 32, our people don't push products. They craft solutions. They anticipate problems before they even happen, and they fix them before anyone notices. If results and relationships, not excuses, drive you, then it's about time to join the team that never settles. Fuse 32. There's nothing we can't do. Apply now at fuse32.com.
It was 1 p.m. on a Monday when the phone rang. Brian Ware Plumbing and Restoration answered the call. It was a panicked family with a mouse problem. Well, a mouse/plumbing problem. Their toilet was more backed up than the connector at 63 and I-70. But Brian's team eventually plucked out the problem. It was a mouse, but like the computer kind, which the family then asked if they could keep afterwards. We didn't ask why. Better call Brian and unplug your plumbing problems. BrianWarePlumbing.com.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
Mizzou, Oklahoma tomorrow. You can text in your predictions for it. 573-875-KTGR. It is on for tomorrow. They've got a plan in place to make sure that you can park in the right spot. They're giving a couple of free parking areas for fans who want to park for free and then walk a little bit over to the arena safely, of course, to go and check out some Mizzou hoops. You can get all those details on the Mizzou Athletics website, and we'll see what happens. If you're not heading out, well, you can tune in right here on KTGR, 12:30 pregame start for Mizzou and Oklahoma. Also this weekend, we will punch tickets to the Super Bowl for two teams, Broncos and Patriots and Rams Seahawks. We tried to get to this yesterday, but I think it's pretty clear NFC game is the real Super Bowl, no matter what.
I mean, that's a hot take. I don't know that the Patriots would be unequipped to handle the matchup in either. I think Seattle would beat the Patriots, but I think the Rams on their worst day can suffer very bad things on the defensive side to where I wouldn't put it past like that. Patriots offense scored a bunch of points this year. I think the Patriots could beat the Rams. If Seattle wins the NFC game, I think Seattle is your Super Bowl champion.
I think you would like to see the Patriots beat the Rams. You weren't saying that 20 years ago, but
no, I was not. No,
see, that's the matchup I'd like to see the least, if you ask me. But
yeah, but I mean, I think it could be the most compelling Super Bowl, though.
I think Patriots Seahawks would be pretty darn good.
It would be. I think the Seahawks are better, but what do I know?
I just flat out think that the Seahawks are a better team. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll win this weekend, but I just think top to bottom, what you see there. And Matthew Stafford is elevating his group to such a level. I'm seeing a strong team with the Seahawks.
They're very balanced.
Yeah.
Their defense, their special teams, they're well coached and they're playing at a high level. I do wonder, and Rob Veno mentioned it with George Halani, kind of a reserve running back that's returning to the fold in the nick of time, because I don't think they really trust Ken Walker in the clutch. And if this is a close game, I'll be very curious to see, what it looks like. He'll make explosive plays, but does he also make a blunder that costs them? I just don't know if I can go as far as to say that the NFC game is really the Super Bowl, just because of the Patriots. I do think are also kind of that very well-rounded team. Drake May, I think, can be a difference maker, and they've got a good defense. I don't know that it's a great defense, but it's a good defense, and it's better than the Rams defense for New England. So I don't know that I could just say like Rams-Pats would be Rams going away to win it. But by the way, I was rooting for the Patriots 6-7 years ago when that Rams-Patriots Super Bowl happened, and it was the most boring Super Bowl ever, which is what I needed at the time because the wounds were still a little bit fresh. Yeah. This time, I don't really think I'll be thinking, oh my gosh, the Rams used to be in St. Louis. Like, I think that will kind of, I still won't want to watch Kroenke hoist a trophy, but I won't really have that level of personal woe about it or angst.
There's some Evis,
and that's the part too.
At the end, right?
Yeah, and this is going to sound bad to say for people who are like never Rams from the St. Louis area, where it's like nothing matters, anti-Rams no matter what. Like, I kind of prefer the Rams to win this week because I feel like I want to watch Puka Nacua in the Super Bowl. I want to see, Matt Stafford versus Drake May. I think that to me is the best matchup. If it's Patriots Seahawks, I think the Seahawks are a better team top to bottom than the Rams, but I am not as compelled by the Darnold of it all. So that's where I'm like, as a fan of the sport, I kind of want to see, but I think I would be rooting for Drake May. If it's Jarrett Stidham in the Super Bowl, though, it's going to be a long 2 weeks. It's nothing on the guy, and he might play well enough tomorrow or Sunday that we go, wait a minute.
That's the thing. Like, if he does, then you all of a sudden are a little more endeared to him, I think. Based on how he could look, and look, maybe it's just
they could win that game.
Of a game, and it's 9-6 or the complete slop. But
yeah,
I mean, him winning that game proves that he can potentially win the next one.
I kind of liked what Robbie said about the rushing yards too. Like, he can move outside the pocket a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if he has to kind of scamper for himself and make something happen with it. The game's going to be closer than people think. It's not going to be this Patriots blowout. Like, that was our initial reaction was, oh, this is going to be unwatchable. It might be, but I think it'll be unwatchable and moderately close.
It'll be interesting. I will also be compelled by the Sam Darnold story. Guy bouncing around to so many different teams that ultimately did not want him, and then he goes and proves all of them wrong in the very first year with his new club. Oh yeah, I can win a Super Bowl. Take that, Jets and Vikings, and
not even really Vikings. I think the Vikings did believe in him, but they had already invested in JJ McCarthy. That's the problem. Think about the timeline of this. They draft McCarthy, bring in Darnold as the bridge. And at that point, we only had reason to believe that Darnold could be a bridge, right? He was in San Francisco for a year, and we say, all right, we're bringing him in. I don't really think the Vikings at the end of the season were like, McCarthy is definitely better than Darnold. I think they just had already made their bed and had to let McCarthy play, and they're probably regretting it now. Certainly, though, it's a big finger to the Jets. I mean, that's that. You just don't come away looking competent if you're the New York Jets from this situation.
But I mean, even other teams, because did he go to the Panthers right after that?
He did.
And then 49ers took him in, and
they fixed him. I think that's what happened.
Kyle Shanahan might have done it. And then
his year as a backup there, where he played a little bit, he came off of that and led the Vikings to what they win 14 games, and now the Seahawks are the number 1 seed. That's a heck of a turnaround.
So I would love for him to win a Super Bowl just for all of that. Maybe it's not necessarily the same for Jared Stidham, but it would be a similar kind of underdog story. No one's given me a shot to start, and now I get my chance in the biggest stage, and it happens for me. So, look, lots of compelling ways that it could go. I think in the end it will be Patriots Seahawks.
I will go Patriots Rams. I was waiting for this point spread to move to 3 to bet on the Rams. It hasn't happened yet. And the money line has even kind of gone the other way, where it's getting closer to the middle of the road. So I don't know what that means, but I think the Rams, it's the Sean McVay Stafford factor for me. Their defense scares the crap out of me, but I'm leaning Rams ever so slightly. And I think Patriots win a close one, though.
Well, we'll see if any of those sides get taken in picks of the week coming up next. Those games and then a bunch of college basketball. Maybe time's moved around for that, but we'll get to our picks of the week next on the Big Show.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Ben Hermes, and this is Live Local Sports Center is brought to you by Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Mizzou men's basketball prepares to host Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon from Mizzou Arena. The Tigers are coming off a 74-72 loss this past Tuesday against the Georgia Bulldogs. Mizzou enters the game with a 13-6 record on the season and a 3-3 record in conference play. Oklahoma enters the game with a record of 11-8 and a 1-5 clip in SEC play. Tip-off from Columbia is at 1 o'clock right here on KTGR. Mizzou women's basketball fell last night to 18th-ranked Ole Miss 82-61. Grace Slaughter led the way for the Tigers in the game with 21 points. The Tigers fall to 13-9 overall and 1-6 in SEC play. The Tigers will be back in action again this weekend when they host Texas A&M from Mizzou Arena at 5 p.m. right here on KTGR. 7th-ranked Mizzou Gymnastics will be back in action this evening, traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on 2nd-ranked Alabama. Start time for the duel against the Crimson Tide is slated for 6:30. And Mizzou Wrestling will host 5th-ranked Oklahoma State from Hearn Center this evening. Tiger Style Wrestling is 2-0 in conference play, beating Arizona State and Utah Valley, both on the road last weekend. Start time between the Cowboys and Tigers is at 6:30. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is next.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and ABC 17 Storm Track Weather Alert Day is in effect through the entire weekend as I'm tracking snow showers moving in by early tomorrow morning. We're going to see several inches of blowing snow with very cold wind chills dropping down to about -15 by morning and staying around 0 throughout the day tomorrow. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
High school hoops.
Switches on the crossover, Euro step inside, high off the glass and in.
At its best.
Catch it on the left wing, turns around and knocks down the three.
KTGR is your home for the best high school basketball matchups in Columbia. Follow the QBs, Bruins, Spartans, and Trailblazers all season long on KTGR's High School Hoops Game of the Week. See the full list of game broadcasts on KTGR.com and listen on the go with a free KTGR app. High school basketball lives here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company. That is where I go for all things tires. When I needed new tires on my 4 wheels, it was finally time. I had held out long enough. I went to Lee's Tire Company because they're the experts in mid-Missouri. They've got such a large selection. They probably have it in stock if you go and show up. And they also have a full catalog online that you can shop for tires there, find the specific one that's right for you, and get a great deal on it. They run specials each and every month to help put money back in your pocket. So look, it's wintertime. Going to be some slick roads here in our near future. So head into Lee's Tire Company if you want to change out and get snow tires, or if you want just some all-weather tires that you can use year-round, head into Lee's Tire Company. They've got a location on the Business Loop in Columbia, a larger location at University Garage by the MU campus. They're also located in Centralia. And, of course, shop online anytime at Lee'sTireCompany.com. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com.
Life has many sweet sounds. Whether it's being enchanted by the coo of a baby, enthralled by the refrain of a favorite song, or even enlightened by a celebration. Hearing connects, informs, and engages us with the world. At Hearing Aid Consultants, helping people hear better is our passion. Set your hearing baseline now so you don't miss the sweet sounds of life.
Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
Hi, I'm David Bale, Exterior Project Specialist for True Sun Exteriors and Interiors. Unlike a lot of our competition, we have a 5-year labor warranty, which ensures that even after 1 or 2 seasons, if an issue rears its ugly head, we're going to stand behind it. Any new installation we do, which is going to be roofing, siding, decks, windows, doors, all that kind of stuff has a full 5-year labor warranty. So we're going to stand behind all of our workmanship for 5 years after the installation is complete. Let's just say hypothetically, we get a storm or something and maybe something comes loose or there's some caulking that gets out of whack. We do a roof and a leak shows up a year later. Sometimes you get a weird storm. You just never know what's going to happen. Anything like that, we're going to stand behind and we're going to take care of it.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
With Steve, all I have to do is call. I tell him the problem, he takes care of it. That's the way I like it. A good player that can put it in the basket.
This is Coach Norm Stewart, so you should probably listen to what he has to say about Steve's pest control.
Yeah, during my tenure as a coach, I had a lot of ball players that weren't highly recruited, and that's not to take anything away from their talent, because when they got to Missouri, they became the best. They became the best because they worked at it every day. That's what you'll find with Steve. He works at it continuously. That's what Steve does. He's going to give you his best all the time. He'll take care of the bugs, believe me. He does for me in Columbia, and he does for me at the lake.
This is Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problems. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got the Big Show on KTGR.
Back here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy, Brendan, and producer Ben ready for another frigid edition of the Picks of the Week, because that's what we're expecting across a lot of the country this week. There have been some games that have had to move times in college basketball. NFL games are still where they are, but at least most of the games that I'm seeing, all the games on the sheet that we had here are happening, Brendan, so that's the good news.
As of now, I think we could have our first ever, it's not a push, it's just a void on a pick if the weather really gets bad, but we're going to trudge forward and hope for the best. That's all we can do.
So last week, recap, no one did particularly well last week.
Nope.
Brendan and the producers tied with the best record last week at 2-3. So
that's pitiful. I hate basketball season. For what it's doing to my picks record, it's a really sad thing. And I'm still picking football games, but the mere presence of the basketball, I think, is costing me.
So you guys get to decide what the order is. And however y'all want to do it.
I'll let the producers, I'll defer and let the producers pick the order. That's not a commonality for those guys. They've been struggling this year, sub 500 on the record.
Oh,
so, hey.
Whoa.
Shots fired? Question mark?
A little bit.
Okay.
Needed to heat things up. It's too cold out there. But, all right. Producers?
All right. I will decide that producers will go first.
Being selfish.
Andy will go second, and Brendan will go third.
Very nice choice.
See what they do to me? I'm nice to them. They punish me. It's just, that's fine.
Well, when you bring up the record, it's kind of a little gut punch.
It was a little dig. Yeah, it was a little dig. And now you're choosing to go first, and you're probably on tilt. So I got you right where I want you, frankly.
Okay.
Fair enough. You're going to choose now out of the college basketball games that we have on the sheet, also the NFL championship games on Sunday. So out of all that, where are you starting us off with?
I will go to college basketball, go to the Illinois-Purdue game, and give me Purdue at home -4.5. Look, Illinois never does well when they go into Mackey, and that's really my only reasoning behind this. I can't trust this team. They play really good sometimes, and they are a solid team this year with all of the Eastern Europeans on their squad, and they've played particularly well, but when they go into Mackey, some weird magic goes on there, and I feel like they never play well. So that one popped out at me early, and I wanted that one. So give me Purdue.
Okay. It is a big game. I mean, maybe it goes down to the wire, but 4.5 is not a terrible number to be laying for that one, especially for a home team. Let's see here. You know what? I'll take a hard one. I was going back and forth. Do I go against my heart a little bit? I'll say Texas Tech wins at home, though, against Houston in another big one. Getting 2.5 points also, the Red Raiders are, so some extra value there. The game could go either way, really, but I think that means having some points on your side is helpful, and having the home team on your side is helpful. So I'll take Texas Tech.
All right, I am going to take football just for as long as the sheet will allow me to do so. The games are dwindling. I really don't think this is the right pick, but I don't know why. It's kind of the outcome I am rooting for. I'm going to say Rams plus 2.5 against Seattle. I think it's going to be the more compelling and exciting, maybe the more offensive-driven of the two championship games on Sunday. I just feel like these two teams are so evenly matched that whichever team was getting points, I was probably going to side with, and try to maybe make a little money on the underdog this weekend as well with a money line pick. I know Seattle is the more balanced team. The Rams defense could let me down here, but I'm going to go with the Rams plus 2.5.
Doing our picks of the week here on the Big Show, KTGR. Producers.
I'm going to stick in the college basketball realm, and I'm going to go to the Tennessee-Alabama game. Don't particularly like going with two favorites off the bat, but I really like Alabama against Tennessee here. There might just be a little bit of football lingering in, but I do think that they're just the better team, and it's a 4-point spread, so obviously afraid that there's not a hook on there, considering that we do have two pushes on the year, but oh well. I do just think Alabama's the better squad in this one. So similar to my reasoning against Illinois and Purdue, I feel like Alabama always performs particularly well against Tennessee, not only just in basketball, but in a lot of the realm of athletics.
All right, Andy, does he have to vacate the pick if Bediako is later?
That's a good question. I mean, maybe that's another one. In addition to snow outs, maybe that's another one that we have to have be.
I would love to sanction the producers for their picks of the week.
Oh, man. That would be a controversy. We never had picks controversies before, from what I recall.
Not usually. Never. Not here.
No, not at all. Let's see. I think Ole Miss keeps it close against Kentucky. Kentucky might be a strong team this year, but I don't know. Like, they've underperformed in a lot of these home games. Ask Mizzou. And Ole Miss is a solid team. They went on the road and beat a Georgia team not too long ago. I know Rupp Arena is different, but 9.5 is also a big number. I think Ole Miss stays within that. So give me Ole Miss plus 9.5.
Kind of like that one for you. I really do. All right. I could delay the inevitable, and I think I will delay it a little bit further because there is one more football game that I could select, and I might surprise you with this pick. I think the number 4.5 is favorable to the home team Broncos, despite the injury to Bo Nix. If it were 3.5, I would go Patriots, but it wouldn't shock me to see like an ugly 17-13 type of win for New England in this one. And I think the Broncos, they're not great because of Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a good contributor, and he fits the offense well, but it's really more about their defense. And going on the road, I want to see how Drake May responds to that. So I think the Broncos can keep it close. I'm just betting the number here, plus 4.5 with Denver at home.
All right. Round 3, producers.
Well, leaving the Patriots out there is very, very interesting.
Go for it, man. I wouldn't blame you if you did.
I'm going to stay away from it right now. I'll stick with the college basketball, and I'll go to a game where I like the number particularly. North Carolina and Virginia. Give me the Tar Heels in this one. I've really been high on Virginia this year. I like the Cavaliers. I think they're a really good squad, and I think North Carolina gets a little discredited off of the last week's performance where they had their West Coast kick and they lost 2 games in a row against Cal and Stanford, which I think is just a little weird. I think it's just a little blip in their schedule. And I think I like it at 6.5 that they can at least cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one outright either.
So North Carolina plus 6.5 is your pick there.
Correct.
At Virginia. All right, producers, you did wait too long. Give me Patriots minus 4.5.
We know the Broncos hater would have to chime in at some point.
people say, I'm tired of the Patriots being always in this spot, and I don't want to see them in the Super Bowl again without Brady. Yeah, but that's how much more I don't want to see the Broncos in there. Like, it's lesser of two evils for me.
For me, it's more about it's a better game if the Patriots are in there. I could see Stidham beating New England. I can't see Stidham beating either NFC team or even keeping it close. So I'm almost rooting for the Patriots to at least win outright because it'll make for a better Super Bowl. But you know what? It could very well be that I'm underrating the Patriots defense, and it's going to. And of course, my guy Mike Vrabel, I hate to bet against him, and you might have the right pick there, Andy. But I don't know. I got greedy. I took the points, so we'll see the way that one plays out. Only one NFL team remaining for either of you guys to select the Seahawks if you want to fade me there, and it's not like it's a crazy number at -2.5. But I'll go with college basketball for this round because I have to at this point. And we talked earlier in the week when we did our SEC basketball tiers about both these teams. Georgia playing at Texas. I think Texas is a better squad here, and it's only a -1.5 despite the fact that they are on their home court. So I will pretty happily take Texas -1.5 as I have to make my venture into college basketball now that all the football games are taken.
All right, producers, round 4.
Well, I think I'm going to flip now to some SEC hoops. I've stayed away from it for a decent amount of time, but I'll go with it here. And, man, there's a few games that I'm looking at, but I'll go with a little bit of a heart pick right here. Give me Mizzou -4.5 at home. It just really depends on what team shows up, I think, for the Tigers, which kind of scares me a little bit. But I do think that with their they played really good against Georgia, just couldn't get the job done at the end. I thought that they limited Georgia's strengths, even though Georgia isn't particularly a great road team. But I think that they can regroup, get everything back together at home against Oklahoma, which is a very winnable game for the Tigers. So give Mizzou -4.5.
Okay, I will ensure that the producers don't get this pick. So I will take the Seahawks -2.5 in the NFC Championship game. It'll be a good game, but if it were 3.5, I wouldn't take it. 2.5, I think, is enough for me for the Seahawks to have enough there to advance to the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold facing Drake May's Patriots, most likely. What a world! What an NFL! Gotta say.
Yeah, it's a new world for sure, and I am kind of waiting. I haven't actually bet this game yet. I told y'all I like the Rams. I want to see that get to +3, and then I might be ready to jump on board with an actual wager in my jurisdiction of legality. But that 2.5, it very much could be that really well played game where they just Seahawks win by 3 and I lose that bet. So we'll see what happens there. Andy and I on opposite sides for both of the NFL games on Sunday, which could be a lot of fun. I'm going to say that I get it. It's a road game, and I get it that they haven't been winning recently, but Vanderbilt's a lot better than what we're seeing of them lately. And they're also taking these losses against superior competition compared to what they will see against Mississippi State. The number here is 7.5. I will lay those points. Vandy -7.5 on the road in Stark Vegas.
Okay, last pick, producers.
Ooh. Not a whole lot left on the board that I like, which very typical of the final round of picks. But you know what? Give me Texas A&M at home to cover against South Carolina. I just don't think South Carolina is particularly good. I don't think Texas A&M is amazing or absolute world beaters. But I like A&M at home. I think that they can get it done. Not too much left on the board, so kind of just throwing darts here, and that game just jumped out at me.
There's mostly just large favorites on the board or larger spreads. So you kind of have to the producers are doing a strategy of fading a team that they don't like. And I think I need to do the same thing. I don't like LSU, so I'm going to take Arkansas -9.5 at home. I think there's a couple tier breaks in between these teams from what we did yesterday, and I just think Arkansas will handily take care of business. And they're the home team, again, that doesn't have to deal much with traveling through snow or things like that. So I'll say that they have a double-digit win.
Yeah, and like the other double-digit type of spreads remaining, Kentucky, I could fade the Ole Miss pick at 9.5. Florida hosting Auburn. Maybe that's the way I go. You know, Florida, I think, has really come around, and they're still like toward the top 10 in KenPom in the country. Auburn having to go on the road. I think Auburn's better than what we've seen, but right now I'm going to trust the Gators a little bit more. I don't love the spread, but when you're getting to the bottom of the barrel and the 15th pick of our weekend, this is kind of what you're working with. I'll go Gators to win it by double digits, hosting Auburn.
All right, there we go. Our picks of the week. Lock them in. We'll be back to recap them on Monday. Again, stay safe, everybody. We were originally planning for a high school hoops broadcast today, but we were unable to make that happen because of the schedule changes. We'll be obviously monitoring that throughout the weekend, of course. You can do so as well on the social media channels and things like that. But stay safe, everybody, during this winter storm that's expected to come through. And we will be back on Monday to talk about Mizzou hoops and the Super Bowl matchup that we'll know about and so much more. So join us for that on Monday at 4 o'clock. Thanks for joining us today. He's Brendan. He's producer Ben. I'm Andy. We're done for now.